सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Excuse me. So we were studying a very important aspect of our studies. In fact, you could argue this was the most important aspect of our studies, which is how to gain wisdom. All of us will say Vedanta is so good. All of us will say all these ideas are so good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the class, right? But there's a world between saying this is so good to being that person who is these ideas. There's a world in between them. What connects the world? The first thing we studied, from where we are to where we have to get. The first thing that is involved is a recognition that we are very far away from where we have to get. That's the first recognition. It's the recognition of our ignorance, of knowing that we aren't there. Now you may say, okay, Bharat, So you may say that, in fact, many of us do feel that we're pretty okay. We look at the others. If I ask you, what is your problem? What will you say? You won't say, I'm such a stupid person, that's my problem. You will say, so and so is such and such, so and so is such and such. That's what we'll say, right? Because we are of the belief that we are sort of okay and others are not yet at our level, let us say, when we are being polite about it. Otherwise, we use other language. This the first step to gain knowledge is the recognition that I don't know. But our feeling when we hear this is, yeah, all these people, they think they know. Wait, hello, we are the ones who think we know. That is why we are not progressing. So how do we remind ourselves that we don't know? How do we remind ourselves?
That we are not self-realized?
Very good. We are very far away from where we have to go. We are very far away. Don't say what I thought you all would say. Very good, Alka. I don't. We'll be agitated. Okay, we'll be agitated. So what? Let's not make a big deal of being agitated and being happy. I mean, okay. We are not realized. We are very far from that goal. We haven't achieved knowledge. That I must remember, right? At least I must remember what is it I want to gain. At least that should tell me that I don't have it now. But important to hold on to that idea that I don't know it. I may have studied Vedanta for 30 years, but I don't know it. Don't say I've been studying, I've been attending class, now I know everything. No, I don't. So, step one is a recognition, is an acceptance of the fact that I don't know. Now I do want to know. So, what do? I approach teachers, I approach books, I approach Google. I want to know. This is only partially correct as a method because it is not these external things that teach us anything, unfortunately. It would be so nice, isn't it, if our teachers could teach us something and go into this head of ours. It'd be so lovely. But actually, that can't happen. I think it'll be very clear if we look at it from the point of view of love. Can you instruct somebody to love somebody? Can you do that? A person can love somebody only if it comes from his heart, right? So, similarly, clarity, knowledge. You can't be instructed in knowledge. You can't be told, know this. It has to come from within. Otherwise, it's not there. The teachers, the books, everything is a help. But you have to do this yourself. Now, when we start doing this ourselves, we start doing the first and most obvious thing, which is we start doing it with the mind. That means we have heard that this concept is very good, or my teacher has said this, and I have great belief in my teacher, and my teacher won't tell me anything wrong, so it's good, it's true. I'm going to try and practice this. I'm going to try and be like that. This is our mind's attempt to understand. It tries to follow, it tries to emulate, it tries to do something which it thinks somebody is telling it to do. Unfortunately, this is not the way to knowledge either. This is the way to condition ourselves into certain behavior patterns. It is a behavioral alteration. It is not knowledge. Behavioral alteration is good. Nothing bad in it. It's a good thing if you can change behavior. It's a good thing, but it's still not knowledge. We are after something else. We are asked for another gem. We want knowledge. So it's good. You hear something, you say, okay, I should be like this. I hear I should not shout. So, okay, let me not shout. It's good. Nothing harm in that. No harm in that. It's a good thing. Behavioral alteration will help life. If you learn to say please, sorry, thank you. Learn. Don't shout at people when you're angry. Go to your room when you're angry. Think about what is happening. Then come back and deal with it. Behavioral alterations. Good. Please do them. However, that gem of knowledge is still not available. How do you get the gem of knowledge? You have to move this from trying to train your mind into trying to train your intellect. Because trying to train your intellect will unfold that knowledge. And once it unfolds the knowledge, you're not doing any behavioral interventions. You're not trying any stunt. You're just being yourself. And that is attractive. That is charismatic. That is, everybody will love you because you're just being yourself. You find almost throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he talks of this quality of arjavam, being true to yourself. That's an extremely attractive quality for whoever has it. Just being true to yourself, being authentic to yourself in today's language. Now we don't use words such as upright and all that. We say authentic to self. Okay, authentic to self is the same idea. How do you behave authentic to self and yet live up to higher values? It is the knowledge that you are, not that you know. This laptop in front of me is listening to exactly the same class that you're listening to. But we have no expectation from the laptop that it will become wise. But there is a little hope that those who are listening will take benefit for themselves from that wisdom, which is written in our text, which has come down to us from centuries. But we have to help ourselves. There's a lake out there. Now you have to put your bucket in and take out water, or you ain't getting no water. It's that simple. So how do we engage our intellect? We engage our intellect in it by reflecting upon those ideas, not believing those ideas. Belief is all in the mind. And hopefully you do believe in these ideas. Because if you didn't believe in these ideas, you would not be attending Vedanta class. So hopefully you do believe in these ideas. But we've still not engaged the intellect. And knowledge is all about engaging the intellect. So how do you engage the intellect? Today we're going to do this lovely portion from a person who has, who people claim says to be peaceful, to sit in meditation, to, you don't have to think. Don't think is what they say. They claim that Buddha says, don't think, sit quietly, do meditation, and everything's going to be okay. Let's read. What does he have to say on this issue? Okay, who will read?
I'll read.
Please do.
Lord Buddha has cautioned humanity over 2500 years ago on the important role of reason in human life. Do not believe what you have heard. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from some old sage. Do not believe in conjecture. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. But after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees with reason and it will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it. So as you clearly said in the introduction, that we need to use our intellect and just don't believe whatever sages or anybody says. But you can have a thought, reflect on it, and if you feel it is benefits you, you can go ahead.
If it benefits you and
For everybody, it will benefit one and all, then accept it and leave it.
yes, very good. So here he has contrasted between the engaging of your intellect and what we normally do in life. Do not believe what you have heard. Heard because our tradition calls our scriptures a shruti, what is heard. So do not believe what you have heard. Do not take the words of the Vedas and Vedanta by itself. Don't do that. Not because those words are wrong. You're not challenging those words. But because they won't help you if you don't think about it. Do not take it because it's a traditional belief. Because it's come down to us from a long time. Don't take it from that for that. Why not? Sati came down to us. Animal sacrifice came down to us. So many negative things have come down to us. Have we not gotten rid of them? Slavery was going on for a long time. Did we not get rid of it? Very, very cruel justice systems were there, where people were treated so badly in the prisons that it's inhuman. I mean, this is not justice, this is cruelty. Didn't we change that? We brought about huge change in the prisons all over the world. So many things were going on. We changed them, didn't we? And isn't the world better for that? Bonded labor has been coming down to us for a long time. Doesn't mean it is correct. So don't use that argument it's coming from a long time. That doesn't establish it's true. Still have to think about it. Don't believe anything because it has been spoken many times. Another very dangerous one. You know what is the danger of it? Does anybody know what is the danger of this?
Ma'am,
It
if
gets
the truth
distorted.
is spoken along, hello?
Go ahead, Ankita.
Ma'am, if the truth is spoken a lot of time, it may get a bit distorted, or some other informations may come from other people. Like the truth, actual truth may be different from what is people are saying, because
Uh,
people start adding their own thoughts also maybe into it. So the actual truth may get distorted at the end.
okay, like Chinese whispers. Okay. What else? Anita, what were you saying?
I was just saying the same thing. It gets distorted.
Okay.
We won't question it.
Sorry.
Sorry, did somebody say something?
We
Yeah, I
won't be
was saying.
questioning it.
Sorry, Bharat, what did you say?
We will no longer question it.
We will no longer question it.
We
We
will
won't
start
think
believing it.
independently, says Ashia.
We usually
The
miss the
biggest thing
context.
about it. Huh?
We
We
don't
usually
develop
miss the
our intellect.
context.
Yes, we don't develop our intellect.
Our
What,
intellect.
Reshma?
We usually miss the context.
We can miss the context, okay. But you know its biggest problem when you hear this repeated over and over again?
You start believing it.
Start believing it in such a way that questioning it sounds absurd. That's the deal. If something has been said in your presence a million times, questioning it will sound absurd to you. Then what nonsense? Common sense says so. So the great Einstein said that common sense is nothing but prejudices collected till age 14. It sounds absurd to question it. Now this attitude of the mind is so well known and so well researched that you know who are the people who make complete use of it?
Tamasic?
Marketing people.
Tamasic will not make use of anything. They are mad people. I mean, mad in the sense they don't apply themselves.
Advertisers.
Very good. Who said that?
Ekta.
Ekta. Correct. Ekta. You know, you hear all the time, buy Lux soap, buy Lux soap, buy Lux soap. You're watching some program. You are not listening to the ad also. It's when buy Lux soap, buy Lux soap, buy Lux soap. Next time you go to the shop and she says, give me a soap. And she say, Konsa, you'll say Lux. Not because you wanted the Lux soap, you just heard it and heard it and heard it and heard it until it becomes just self-evident that you want soap. Which one? Lux. Those were the most famous marketing campaigns, or the biggest monopolies are like that, right? When you, even today, you say that, right? If you want to know something, you say, what do you say?
Google it.
Google it.
Google it. Google is a brand name. But we say that. Many, many years ago, when we wanted toothpaste, we said,
Colgate.
Colgate. Ek Colgate chahiye. Colgate chahiye doesn't mean you want Colgate. It means you want toothpaste. And how did that come about?
Even chocolate become Cadbury.
Chocolate has become Cadbury's, yes.
And
Correct.
Xerox.
Xerox, of course, yes. Nobody says photocopy because nobody but Xerox, you know. So just by repeating and repeating and repeating, it comes to a position where you feel questioning it is absurd. He's asking such a stupid question, you'll say. That's the danger. That it doesn't even occur to us that this thing needs to be questioned, that this thing needs to be thought about. And that is why it is so dangerous to have something repeated over and over in your environment. Now you will say, so what? I asked for Colgate. What is your problem? Now look at how this works, okay? Look at how this works for us.
Janki,
Yeah? Yeah, Sheetal, you said something?
I have a question. What you just explained, is it true with the human relationships also?
True with everything, whatever you repeat. You have
Okay.
heard since childhood that a girl gets married, and a girl gets married by the age of 25. So now you don't feel that there is anything to question in this. Everything, it works for everything.
Okay.
There is no area where it doesn't work.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Janki.
So think about all the various ways in which this is affecting us. It really impacts our life to never be able to ask that question. Whatever you were brought up with becomes the ultimate truth, becomes the truth, and nobody can question this. Do South Indians ask the question, should we eat rice for our meals? Do they ask that question? Do North Indians ask the question, should we eat chapatis for meals? We don't ask that question because we heard it and heard it and heard it until that is the truth. Now, you will understand from this the advantage of satsang. You know why they go on and on about satsang. And think about this. You saw a movie. In the movie, there was a girl and she was treated very badly by her husband. She was really ill-treated and she was abused and she was beaten and she was very badly treated. And the whole thing was a very big tragedy. And at the end of the excuse me, she was completely destroyed. And the movie tried to tell us, you know, how somebody can be so badly destroyed because of the cruelty of a spouse. You saw this movie. You were quite taken, touched by it. You told everybody else also what a nice movie it was. Then a few days later, you saw on television a program where, let's say, a mother-in-law is very badly treating her daughter-in-law and how miserable the daughter-in-law was. Another time you saw another program where a man lost his money because his partner cheated him, and how much trouble, how unhappy he became. Somewhere else, a parent lost a child. You saw that. It was all very tragic. You saw many things like this. In your mind, you just saw these things. You don't know what you learned out of it. One thing that we all learn out of these many, many things is that
Life is full of sorrows.
maybe you could learn that. I mean, of course you could learn that. What else?
When these things happen, one will be unhappy.
Very good, Ashya. When the external situation is bad, happiness, unhappiness is a given. You learned that. You have learned it all your life. That any time something bad happens, I have to be miserable and unhappy. That's the training we've given ourselves. Now you may say, what is that? Don't believe anything that has been spoken many times. Okay, I don't believe. No, there are very fundamental things that we have believed. There are very many fundamental buy-ins that we have done. And these are now ruling our lives. So he's warning us, be careful. It doesn't mean everything you hear is wrong. That's not what it means. But he's warning us how deeply entrenched an idea gets. And you haven't even thought of it. Not even your own. And yet it's deeply entrenched. Sarthak, there's many a time our experiences and reasoning does not match Vedanta Pramanam. Doesn't mean I'll question Lord Krishna or Sri Ramakrishna. In fact, faith itself means taking a leap into something that's beyond our current level of intellect. Lord Krishna himself said it's important to have Shraddha in the scriptures. Spiritual truths are beyond senses and reasoning. Sarthak, you're in the wrong class, my friend. If you take this stance that our experiences and reasoning does not match Vedanta, and Vedanta is right and I am wrong, then this is not being authentic to self.
Ma'am, in the beginning of the journey, how can it match our experience? Like the sages have experienced it after they believed in what their teachers taught them, and after their life completed and they got self-realized, they said that we have experienced what our teachers experienced. So in the beginning, how can we question the whole teaching itself and have that attitude
Okay,
towards
sir.
in the beginning, like?
Why not? Why would you want to sell your personality to anybody? What has Vedanta told you so far that doesn't fit with your reasoning or doesn't fit with what you see? Have you seen people who are very, very selfish and very, very happy? No, wherever there's selfishness, there will be agitation. And you say, no, okay, maybe that's true most of the time, but I have seen selfish people who are happy. Then now's your chance to think about it. Now is your chance to figure out how is it that if this person is so selfish, how is he so happy? How is he capable of it? Figure it out. Don't just sit there and say Krishna said it. You know, Krishna, to his closest friend, after he had spoken to him 17 chapters of chaste philosophy, told his closest friend at the end of the whole thing, I have told you, my friend, all that I have to. Yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Now do as you deem best. This is what Krishna said. Yes, you do take up the scriptures because you have faith in the scriptures. Faith is the beginning point of knowledge. You go to a science college because you have faith in science. If you didn't have faith in science, you wouldn't go to a science college. But having entered the science college, now you can say, I have faith. They'll fail you in the exams. Oh, I have a lot of faith in Einstein. Please, can you write down what his formula was and how they work? Let's see if you know that. No, I love Einstein. I have a lot of faith in him. I pray to him every day. Will you pass your exam? It's exactly the same in Vedanta. You won't pass your exam because say, I have faith in the sages. अच्छा जीवन से एक मार ऐसी पड़ेगी, then you go on saying I have faith in the sages. What faith in the sages? You have come to Vedanta because you have faith. Having come, no, I have faith is only, come on, quick, tell me, what is it? Is only?
Taking the easy route out. Not
Very
using.
good. It's only tamas. It's only tamas. And teachers who tell you have faith are tamasic because they are not taking the trouble to explain it. They say have faith, have faith, have faith. Sab theek ho jayega. Arey, what theek ho jayega? Explain to me kaise theek ho jayega. So it is a lot of effort. That is why some people really like the fact that this class is interactive, and some people really don't like the class. They say, oh, I don't want all these people asking so many questions. We want to come even to Vedanta just as a pleasure-seeking device. We are going to struggle our way through this. You and I, that's what we promised at the beginning of the class. That we are all going to get together and struggle our way through this. And we are going to find that struggle enjoyable. We are not enjoying it because we are not struggling. We are finding the struggle. They're trying to figure out, how can this be right? You're telling me something wrong. How can this be right? You're just struggling to figure it out. Because not everything is intuitive. Many things are counterintuitive. In science also. The great Aristotle said that a heavy object will go quicker to the ground than a lighter object. And later experimentation showed that this was not true. What seemed obvious to scientists. So every knowledge is not intuitive. You have to struggle with it. So it's not that you're questioning Lord Krishna, but you're questioning your comprehension of what Lord Krishna said. It is the height of ego to say, Krishna is correct and I know it. Oh, really? And how do you know whether Krishna is correct or not? So, this is egoistic. I know the truth. I know who's right and I know who's wrong. This is all ego, come disguised as faith. So, let us use our faith as a stepping stone to understanding. What is Krishna really saying? What is he trying to communicate to us? What is that meaning? That's what I have to work on. Can't get it just like that. Okay, Sarthak? Spiritual truths are not beyond senses and reasoning. Only the self is beyond senses and reasoning. Spiritual truth should be obvious to us. Little bit of intellect, little bit of reasoning will say, yes, that's true. How can it be possible that a person with endless desires is happy? How? It's not possible. Because all agitations come from
Desire.
desire.
Selfishness.
All agitations come from desire is the law. Having a lot of desires is called selfishness. So once you figured it out in your head, never mind whether Krishna said it or not, the truth is the truth. Never mind whether Buddha said it or not, the truth is the truth. Never mind whether it's in Vedanta or not, the truth is the truth. Facts are facts. Don't have faith in them. Figure out whether they are facts. Are you okay, Sarthak?
Ma'am, this example was like a nice one, but let's say there are some things that Krishna and Lord Buddha says, but I haven't myself experienced or felt that they would help me or not. So what about them? Like in those cases, I take that, okay, Lord Krishna must be saying something correct, but I am not understanding it. So it's my faith in his words that is ultimately leading me to believe in what he's saying.
No. if you're not understanding his words, please try and understand his words. Don't have faith in them.
Ma'am,
What is
but
it
many
to
times,
believe?
many practices like tapasya and jap and these things don't exactly make sense to me. But if they are written in the scriptures, they must have some or the other meaning, right?
Yes, but if they don't make sense to you and you don't know their meaning, what are you trying to do?
Ma'am, that's why we attend classes so that we can understand their meaning, right?
Okay. And in the class, you have learned that you need to think about it. You just looped yourself, Sarthak.
Yeah, ma'am, I understand how you got me.
Okay. All right. Arati, how does repeating God's name over and over again work? Arati, please don't. Which Arati is this? Arati, where are you? Arati, are you around here? Arati?
Aarti Rele, Janki.
Oh, Arati Rele. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Okay, so how does repeating God's name work over and over again? Firstly, repeating God's name is one way of creating a love where there wasn't a love before. How is any attachment created is by repeating a thought. That's how any attachment is created. Why is a mother attached to the child? Why is the most important person in your life Jhelam? Because that thought has gone on and on and on. Even before her birth, the mother holds the child, and whatever she does in her life at that time, she sits up, she gets up, she sits down, she gets up, she goes for a movie, she reads a book, whatever in the world she does. Her one thought is the child in her, right? So by the time the child is born, she already has a lot of attachment to the child. Then after that, she starts nursing the child, looking after the child, and this goes on and on and on. So at one point, if there's a fire in the house and everybody says, just run and save yourself, what will the mother do? Her only thought
Run
is,
and save the child.
yeah, she'll pick up the child. That's what she'll do. Why? Because her mind is completely associated with it. Now, what has happened in the world is that our thoughts have always been with some worldly matter. And so we have no affection for the Lord. So they say, go on repeating the thought of the Lord so that you create some love for the Lord. So that's how repeating the Lord's name over and over and over again works. It's the same principle of your sending your thoughts in a particular direction. However, this may or may not work for everybody. Repeating the Lord's name is one way of doing it. There are other ways of doing this also. Is that okay, Arati?
No, I have one question. I mean, suppose repeating the Lord's name goes on continuously, say in your mind. Okay, but that is a better option. Or reading different books. What should be the right option is what I want to know.
Whatever inspires you is your option.
Both are equally right.
Yeah, see, the how it works is repetition of thought. So anything that makes you repeat the thought will work for you. What makes you repeat the thought is what you are inspired with. So you can use any method. That's why it's always said, no, all religions work. You call him Allah, you call him Father in heaven, you call him Vishnu, you call him whatever, you call him Shunyata. You say he doesn't exist also. Any way you manage to repeat the thought, you're through.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Ankita Das, I apply whatever I learn in order to understand whether it's practically applicable or not. I'm loving these classes. Thank you for the sessions. Yes, Ankita, that is correct. Please apply it. And if it doesn't work practically, it means that
You have not understood it.
Very good, Sarthak. Sarthak, you are very capable of answering other people's questions. Okay, yes. If it doesn't work out, I still haven't figured out what this means. It's like, Ankita, have you started cooking? How old are you? This in this class, I don't even know how I. Ankita Das. Ankita, your picture at least shows a young girl. So have you started cooking yet? Your mother must have made some dish, some very nice dish. Then she gives you the recipe to make the dish. And you make the dish. But it doesn't taste exactly how she made it. What will you decide? What will you conclude? You can unmute yourself, Ankita, and say, correct, that I have not learned correctly. You don't say the recipe is wrong. You say, I have not understood what exactly she meant. And then you keep struggling with it, and one day, wow, it turns exactly the way you want it to turn out. Okay. So do not believe in anything that has been spoken many times.
Janki ji,
Yumti. Hello.
Yeah, Sangeeta, go ahead.
So when Krishna says in the Gita that Japosmi, I am the Jap Yagna amongst all the yagnas. So that means it is the highest form of yagna that we can perform.
That's right. It is Japo. Highest yagna is what? Meditation, right? So meditation is the highest thing. The problem is we are not capable of the highest thing. If I ask you that what is the highest degree you can get in education, and what is your answer?
There is no limit.
No, highest degree you can get.
PhD.
PhD, DLit. You can answer like that, right? You can say DLit is the highest.
Yes.
Okay, so suppose a 5-year-old child tells you, if DLit is the highest, then why are you sending me to kindergarten? I will do DLit.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? No, right? So we are not prepared for meditation. We are not prepared for Japa Yajna. And yet we take to it. We only create problems in our lives. So it is the highest, but I should be capable of the highest, right?
So there is no difference between Japa Yagna and meditation?
Depends on how you're doing it, of course. In the context that you are referring to, he's referring to meditation.
Okay, and what is the right way of doing Japa Yagna?
There's no right way. You have to do what is relevant to your level, to your growth, to your understanding.
But if I know what is the highest level, only then I'll aspire to reach there.
Yes, of course. You aspire to reach there. You don't start behaving as if you're already there.
So yes, to aspire to reach there, we need to know what is the right way of doing Japa Yagna.
No,
if you could
need
please
to find out what is the right thing for me to do now.
Mm-hmm.
That is what you need to do. You don't start with, okay, tell me how to do Japa Yajna. You don't go to a doctor and say, tell me how to have this antibiotic. Do you ever say it like that? Then the doctor won't answer your question. You have to say, what should I do now? Then he may suggest or he may not suggest an antibiotic. You can't take an antibiotic and tell me how to take this. Then he'll say, why have you come to me?
Okay. Yeah.
Don't sound so disappointed, Sangeeta.
So I would like to know the proper way of doing Japa Yagna. That's why I'm feeling a little.
Okay, well, first we have to figure out whether Japa Yajna, the proper way to do it is first to figure out whether it is the right thing for me to do.
Yes, yes, that I have figured out because that is what I like.
That is what I like.
I mean that is what. No, it's not about liking. Like that is what I get.
You're walking into all sorts of problems, Sangeeta. I suggest you think it through and come back. As you say it, you are realizing how many problems you're walking into.
Okay. I don't know how to articulate my questions. That is my problem.
No, the problem is not that you can't articulate your questions. You articulate your questions fine. But as you articulate them, you realize what is wrong in the logic. That is why I feel it's good for everybody to participate in the class, much to the irritation of everybody else. But it's as you walk your way through those thoughts, you start figuring out, okay, so this wasn't correct, and this wasn't correct, and this wasn't correct, and then you're not left with anything.
So if I figured out that Japyagna is what appeals to my soul, if I put it like this, so now how do we do it in the right way?
Well, whatever it is that appeal to your soul, that's the way.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Hari Om.
Ma'am, what I figuring it out is...
One second, Gayatri. Anuja had a question.
Okay, sure.
Reflecting on every principle is like checking every grain of rice. So when will you have it? How sweet, Anuja. That's a very nice question, actually. Why would I reflect on every principle? Am I going to check every grain of rice? It's a very interesting thought. Can anybody answer it? I hope somebody knows.
That is the reason why we do morning study.
Okay, but she's saying, why am I going to check out every principle? I don't check out every grain of rice. Why? So I don't do that, right? So it's a very nice way of expressing her concept that why do I need to think every single thing?
Because when I'm hungry, that time I will not be in a situation to check.
Okay.
We check what principles are applicable to us.
Okay. Yes, Aditi?
You don't generally check every grain of rice. So the bigger things, the very small things, you have to let go. But the major things that you have to reflect on, which is like taking a little a portion of rice and looking into it, and then seeing it's clean, and then taking a next tiny portion, and that's how you clean it.
Yeah, but don't say you have to let it go, Aditi. Otherwise,
Sorry, yeah, but
Himanshu is going to have a lot of trouble in eating his rice.
I mean, you can look at it, but not that deeply. Seeing that, take a tiny portion, not the whole rice, but you're taking little portions. So you will not be checking every grain. You will be checking more or less on from the top.
You can't do that because you can't let a single pebble go through. Otherwise, everyone in the house is going to scream at your eyes. What all this little, you can't say I do generally.
Because we can't conceive God.
Because what? What, Deepa?
We can't conceive God.
So
this is the route to...
So how does that answer the question?
Ankiji, you separate the rice and see it in a bigger, when it's spread out, and pick up the pebbles.
Okay. What is Ashya saying? One second. Let's see what is Ashya says. As we reflect on some principles, some other principles will also be known on their own. Very good, Ashya. Shankar Prasad. We can apply random sampling as they do in manufacturing of products. We can taste a drop of ocean water and confirm that the entire ocean water is salty. Okay, I don't know whether you mean what, I don't know whether you mean the answer. Fulfillment is in the process. Karan, yes, but you will feel very fulfilled in ignorance also. So you can't use that as a yardstick. Okay, so Anuja, the answer is reflecting on every principle is like checking every grain of rice. No, in fact, what is a principle? Think this through. What is a principle? A principle is a statement that collates facts, right? When you say that, take any principle, water boils at 100 degrees. The great part about knowing that principle is you don't have to boil every sample of water to know that this sample of water is going to boil at 100 degrees. Okay, so a principle are those things which collates facts. And as a consequence of that, you need to know less. That is why they say, Samajhdar ko ishara hi kafi hai. Because the Samajdar, he sees the water, he already knows many things about the water. He knows that this thing is going to boil at 100 degrees. He can say the water is not very clean, then he knows it's not going to boil at 100 degrees, it's going to boil slightly higher. He knows all that. Because the principle is the thing that enables us to understand the various bits of information we're getting. So if you reflect on some principles, like Ashya says, you will know many facts. These are very few. They are very, very few. You have a base principle. Desires cause agitation. If you understand in your life only this one principle, you don't need any other studies. Okay, is that clear, Anuja? So
Yes, right, right. That means every lecture, every small things we don't have to keep reflecting. It's only the principles that we concentrate on.
yes, because every lecture is only another example of the same principle.
Okay, okay.
You know, we don't get the principle. Like suppose I go on saying E is equal to mc squared, E is equal to mc squared. Nobody gets it. So we say E is equal to mc squared and you give one example, then next class we say E is equal to mc squared and give another example. That's what you do. Of course, it's not just one principle, but you know, even if you hear it many times, sometimes the pieces sort of fall in place that you may have noticed, and then you get finally from all those various pieces to the principle which is involved. And when you get to that principle, you're through. You don't need to know this anymore because you got it. You don't need a million examples.
Okay, okay.
So that's why he's saying, don't believe it. Figure it out, because the higher grades of knowledge we're able to get, the less explanation we require. You don't require the explanation, you got it.
Yes, yes. Okay,
so
thank you.
Don't believe written statements. Don't believe what you have heard. Don't believe in conjecture. That's another thing. This is a very important thing because people believe a lot in conjecture. Sarthak, don't believe in conjecture. Don't believe ऐसे कुछ भी कोई कुछ भी बोलेगा and we are going to believe it. And then they'll add, Krishna said. Arey, who told you? Okay, maybe Krishna said it. Show me where he said it first. Second, okay, he said it. You've shown me where he said it, but is that what he meant? Show me context. Let me read the chapter to see whether that's what he meant. So we can't just assume that Krishna said something, I believe it. No, how? How do you know he said that thing? How do you know your understanding of what he said is correct? So don't believe in conjecture. Can we go with the facts? What are the facts we know? Okay, simple it is, not complicated. What do we know? We know that you and I and all of humanity, we are agitated. We know this, right? But now where is this agitation coming from? Because you're behaving badly with me, I'm agitated. This is the most common understanding of it. Okay. So suppose you were to do this same behavior that you're doing with me, with everybody in the world, would those people also be agitated? So I say, yes, of course. If you behave so rudely with anybody, that person will be agitated. Here's where you stop and you say, is that really true? Everybody? If you're so rude with Rama, will Rama be agitated? He won't get agitated. He lost a kingdom and he wasn't agitated. Then why will your rudeness agitate him? Probably won't be agitated. His mother told him to leave and go to the forest. You know that beautiful story, right? Kaushalya tells him that. She says, you know, it's time for Rama to leave. And people are telling her, why don't you stop him? Do something. Like, don't just stand there and allow this to happen. I have his father's instructions. Why don't you say it? And I instruct you otherwise. Because he's saying no, he's following his father's instructions. So Kaushalya says this beautiful statement. She says that if it was his father's instructions, I could have overridden them. I could have given other instructions. But these instructions are given by his mother. You understand her stance? How lack of ego, what lack of ego must be there in her? She sees Kaikeyi as same as herself. And like, what? I don't know what character people in that family had. She says these instructions were given by his mother. Now, this is how that family was. Kaikeyi was Rama's mother. That means for Rama also, she's my mother, right? And my mother has told me that I have to leave and go away. So he could be very hurt. He says, I don't mind leaving the kingdom, but why is my mother telling me to leave? He could be very hurt. No, he wasn't. He accepted it with full grace, absolutely full grace. No, I mean, he had no issues with it whatsoever. So when someone is being rude to me, when someone is being hurtful to me, I am so sure that that is what is causing my agitation. I'm sure that that will cause everybody agitation. But I do come across people whom it does not cause agitation. And if it is not causing them agitation, there must be some reason it's not causing them agitation. So what is it that those people have that they don't get agitated? And I get agitated. Isn't it up to me to figure that out? That's called finding the principle involved. So don't go by conjecture. Don't बाबा ऐसे होगा, वो stars ऐसे होंगे, और ये ऐसा होगा, और वो ऐसे होगा. No, go conjecture. Go step by step. Figure this thing out. And you're okay. You'll be completely all right. So don't go by any conjecture. Gayatri, you had a question. Sorry,
No, ma'am. No, I mean, I was following up with all the discussion. What I generally go through is the process of assimilation. I find it very important because I have to understand the text. And like somebody was talking about, you know, the japa yagna is so important. For me, understanding of the text and then the application of its subconscious mind, you know, these things are going on. How am I going to apply these in my real life? And automatically I see that the change comes in. If we want to be sattvic, we are. At a moment, maybe I'm a little more on the rajasic side. Perhaps that situation brought me into it. So I was thinking that is Dvaita philosophy and I mean Advaita and Dvaita, aren't they supportive of one another? Or am I going a little, I'm getting confused or that's what I wanted
It's
to
okay.
ask.
We don't need
Because
to
when
worry
we are
about
talking
the final conclusions. Why worry? Let us start from here. Let me figure out what's going on in my life. If I figure that out, I will understand every human life.
Okay.
No problem. Whether it's Dvaita or Advaita, we will know when we get there.
Yeah, because
No
as
need
we
to worry
see
about
in the you know, the relationships, you find the elders emphasize a lot on the ritualistic practices, and it's the, you know, our generation, we might they think we are rebelling if we argue it out and tell them this is not necessary, this is necessary, do we need to do all these? But many times then, you know, there are these conflicts within families. I'm not talking about just one single, but at what I've observed in my, you know, relatives or friends, where they feel so depressed, oh, my child is not listening, I wanted him to, go through a particular ceremony. He's not. Some people are forced into it. So this paragraph brought me into, all those thoughts came about. And I wanted your
So
opinion.
take out all those thoughts and focus on how we have to learn.
Yeah.
People will do what they are doing. They're not even asking us our opinion. Let us figure out how we have to get it.
So not get attached emotionally to all what is happening. Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
No,
Thank
that's
you so
not
much.
the point in this paragraph. The point in this paragraph is what are the wrong ways of approaching knowledge. And the important thing for us is we should not approach it wrongly. That is important for us. Let us not worry. The whole world is doing all sorts of things. Samna lena na dena karo yaar jo karna hai.
Right.
We will figure out that I ain't doing any of this nonsense. That's what I have to figure out.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So then what he told us what not to do, what not to do, what not to do. Then what to do after careful observation. What is observation? You observe the facts around you. What is it that you can see for yourself? Don't worry about what anyone else has to say. What are the facts as you see them? What is happening in your life? What are the facts? Don't go to opinions, go to facts. What happened? There was a fight between my husband and me. Fact. What happened in that fight? He said this, I said this. Okay, fact. He said this, I said. Don't conjecture. Don't jump to conclusions. Just go by the facts. Now work your way backwards. Then you can start analyzing it and figuring out what happened. But first have the facts ready. I said this. He said that. We don't know what anyone has said in the fight. Both parties will report two different things. Sometimes they report a different fight also. Sometimes when I hear husband and wife, they're talking on two different topics. But at least fight on the same topic. Itna to kar lo. So they're two different things. So first facts. What did he say? What did I say? What happened? Facts. Then analysis of those facts. Can we understand anything from these words? Should we seek clarification? You said you're a fool. What exactly did you mean? Were you using Webster's dictionary? Find out which one. He says, fool, what exactly is he referring to? You are a fool. I meant that you were so untactful when you told my mother that her sari doesn't look good. Okay, so can I do some behavior intervention? I won't tell your mother next time that her sari doesn't look good. Quite simple, right? But no, it won't be. It will go from my mother's sari to your mother's sari to your grandfather's kurta, and then from there to Bill Gates also it reaches sometimes. Hey, Papa, but what is all this to do? You just were upset that I said this to your mother. I'm sorry. Next time I won't say. So when you go to observations, you find facts. Then you analyze those facts. You question what were those facts. Then you will come to some kind of reasonable conclusion. If you come to a reasonable conclusion, according to your reasonable conclusion, then implement. Why is that so tough?
It is, Janki ji. Actually, during the fight, this we don't think all these things. This comes after the fight. Actually, this is, we reflect after that, after maybe an hour or so.
Very good. So you're doing it. What's the problem? Fight. No, all
But
you want
not
you
during
fight.
the
Don't fight with your husband. Who will you fight with? Fight with him.
Anybody, if you
Afterwards,
fight,
figure out. Yeah.
Anybody, with anybody we fight. These things we don't think that moment. उस टाइम तो दूसरा ही दिमाग में गाना चल रहा होता है तमंचे पे डिस्को वाला, उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं चलता. And later on we reflect on it.
Correct. So reflect no later on. But when you reflect, he's told you the method. First, find facts. Observe. Find facts. Then do some analysis of the facts. You will find some facts are missing. Question and find the remaining facts. Then come to conclusions, which according to you should be reasonable. And then implement those. He's told you what to do, how to go about it. And we live by it. So it's difficult, but now we have to train ourselves. When you first get onto a cycle, it's difficult. Now you fall down, you scrape your feet, knees. Balance तो होता ही नहीं है हमसे. Okay, अब ये हो गया. मैं गिरी. But what do? I get back onto my cycle and again I try to figure it out. So what is my cycle in this case? What? कोई सुन नहीं रहा था बिना मतलब के मैं बोले जाती हूँ.
The cycle.
What is my cycle?
Fight without the facts.
No, that's not my cycle. Don't get on to that. Anuja, what did you learn from the class that you should go fight with people? No. Get on to the cycle again means the bicycle. That bicycle is
Your mind, is it that?
No, it's satsang and
what? Get onto the bicycle again means get onto the right process of thinking it through, which he has given. It is difficult. Rajni said it's difficult. I'm agreeing it's difficult. Just like it's difficult in cycling, we fall off when we try to do it, but we just get up and we get on a cycle again and we drive and drive and drive, and one day we balance, right? So do exactly the same thing when it comes to intellectual analysis. Okay, so that's it for today. Hari Om.